You are listening to the Stop Binge Eating podcast with Kirsten Sarfty, episode number 100. Welcome to the Stop Binge Eating podcast. It's time for you to end your food obsession and begin feeling confident and in control around food. You are absolutely capable of eliminating binge eating from your life, and I'm going to show you how by giving you simple tools and insights that you can apply in your own life. I'm your host, Kirsten Sarfty. Now let's get to it. Hi, welcome to episode 100 of the podcast. How exciting is this? I am so excited. And because I love milestones, I wanted to do something super fun for this episode. So for the first time ever, I decided to bring on one of my former clients and have her share her binge eating story with you all. Her name is Lainie. She is so freaking cool. I absolutely loved working with her. We had so much fun, and I'm sure that you are going to love her too. She is someone who, just like you, struggled with binge eating and started listening to my podcast, hoping to find a way out. And I think you'll find so much of her story to be relatable because I do. When I think about my own personal story, I see a lot of myself in her. And I also hear similar stories to hers from so many people that I have talked to and worked with. So here we go. Me and Lainie, episode number 100. Hi.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
Good. This is so fun. Look at you.
I know. I'm really excited to be. I'm not gonna lie. I'm actually kind of a little nervous. Is that normal?
Yeah.
I've never done anything like this before, but it's really exciting.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm so happy that you have decided to join me. I think this is going to be really awesome and inspiring for a lot of people. So thank you for being on
Thank
here.
you. I'm happy that I'm in the state that I am excited to be doing it.
Yes. Awesome. So let's just start with your story. So tell me a little about yourself, your background with eating, food, your weight, all the things.
Yeah. So my name's Lainie. I had trouble with eating and eating behaviors for a long time, especially growing up. And I think as I was transitioning into college, I had started actually restricting and having issues with anorexia, or what I was diagnosed with, orthorexia, which is basically like focusing on an unhealthy obsession with healthy foods, which is ironic. But after that, my kind of behaviors transitioned from deprivation to binging. And just a few months after leaving inpatient care for orthorexia, binging almost followed immediately. And then for about 10 years, I had continued those behaviors. And in that time, weight fluctuating up and down, feeling really discouraged and not really knowing how to help myself. And I think in the back of my mind, just thinking, well, it's not as bad as the alternative of where I was before, and maybe not even thinking it was an issue. So I really was in denial for a lot of that time. And yeah, it's been a ride.
Yeah. So you were binging for like 10 years?
Yeah, about a decade.
Wow. And that's pretty much the same for me too. So totally with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how often would you say that you were binging?
So when I started binging, I would say they were more like episodes here and there. It would be every once in a while when I felt like I really just needed some type of release or wasn't able to manage my emotions, either good or bad. And one of the reasons why I sought out help was because it was becoming much more frequent and feeling really overwhelming and like it was controlling me, and I didn't really know what to do about it. So when at my worst, it was happening probably every other day of the week. And I think the only reason why it wasn't happening every day is because my body needed like that buffer day, because like it ached from overeating, and like my my joints hurt or like my muscles hurt. And I mean, I remember like canceling commitments because I had binged, and my husband would ask if I wanted to go out for dinner, but little does he know, like earlier in the day, I binged so bad that I couldn't enjoy that with him. And I was so full. Or I have a memory of calling sick into work because I had binged the night before and just felt so awful physically and mentally about my actions that I like couldn't face the day.
Yeah. So why do you think that binging was such a problem for you in your life?
After a number of like therapists and psychiatrists and even some medicine, I think I never understood the root of my issues and how it had evolved. And that bothered me because I felt like if I could pinpoint it to one thing or even a few things, like moments, I could go back and even fix those or learn or grow from them. And then everything would be solved. But frankly, after a while, binging became just more of like a ritual or a part of my day. It became like this built-in thing that I relied upon and just kept getting worse and worse. It was like the solution to a problem I had. And in a really weird way, I'm just speaking for myself, it just started to feel comforting. It was my release.
Yeah. And that's why it can be so hard to let it go for a lot of people, because it is comforting. You do find that comfort in it. And then if you're going to let the binging go, then how do you comfort yourself? Right? Like that becomes the fear for a lot of people.
Absolutely my fear. I had no idea what to replace binging with. And that was my mindset because there wasn't a replacement. It was confronting what I needed to confront. So.
Yeah. So did you believe that you would be able to stop binging?
So I knew that the things that I was trying were not working for me. And I knew that I believed in myself, and I know that I had the desire to stop. I think it just took me such a long time to like find the right resources that actually resonated with me and then caused that change. So I believed in myself and I knew I could do it. I just don't think I ever got to the point where I found that thing.
Yeah. So that belief kept you going. That belief caused you to not give up. And it caused you to keep trying new things and keep looking for different ways. What were some of the things that you were trying?
Well, like I said, I had a therapist that I actually really liked, but I think it was a lot of just me going in and talking about things that I was struggling with and not figuring out why, and just kind of talk therapy. Or I would, Google, how to stop overeating or binge eating. And it would say things like, to suppress your urge, paint your nails or go for a walk or take a shower. And of course, all of those things and more. And, sometimes they worked, most of the times they didn't. And it only made it more discouraging because I thought, like, well, the internet's saying that this would help and I can't even do this. So why am I not? Like, of course, I'm not going to be able to overcome this if I can't just paint my nails.
Right. Yes.
So that became discouraging as well.
Yeah. Painting your nails. That is the solution.
Yeah, of course. It's as easy as that.
Yeah. So why do you think that you decided to reach out for coaching when you did?
I began noticing that my binging was getting worse, like the quantity was getting worse, and then more frequent. So more often I was binging, and I still couldn't understand the rhyme or reason. I knew there were some triggers that I had, but as I mentioned, I was seeing a therapist at the time, and I kind of started looking for additional online resources. So I had a decent commute to work, and I was looking up podcast information and seeing if there was just anything I could listen to that I could relate to. I think part of my problem with the therapist I was seeing is that they had an eating disorder specialty, but I didn't feel like I was relating to somebody, and I didn't feel like I could openly talk about all of the things I was struggling with or feel vulnerable enough to do so. So I found your podcast, and I had seen that you had quite a few episodes already, and for about a month going to and from work, I listened to an episode and caught up, and one of the episodes I heard you mention coaching, and I thought that would be something to try. And I remember thinking this could be the thing that really helps me. I really, from listening to your podcast, I loved your approach. I thought you were relatable, less clinical, and more like, let's nip this in the bud. That's the kind of the mentality I have. Like, let's get to it. Let's partner together. Let's be committed and get it done. And I was motivated by that.
Yeah. Yeah. So what did you find to be the most challenging part of our work together?
I think it has to be, and this might be broad, but facing reality.
Yes. I think so many people can relate to that. Yes.
Yeah, I did a lot of like introspective work, and this might sound cliche, but I really dug deep in my mind and my thoughts and my emotions. I remember saying so many times to you that I like wasn't a feelings person, and I had to then like digest all these things, no pun intended, and try to be just like as I'm growing, also be patient with myself and be kind to myself and make all this change. And that is exactly what I had been avoiding for so long. I was avoiding reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Happening.
Because again, it's uncomfortable to do that.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Because we never know what we're going to face. Like, well, if we go face reality and look into ourselves, what are we going to find? And people get very scared by that.
Yeah, the unknown of what's going to be on the other side and not knowing if it's going to be better or worse or different, or it's just uncertain. And that's hard to think about and imagine or look forward to.
Yeah. So how were you able to go through that? It was scary. It was uncomfortable. How did you do it?
I was really committed after our first initial session. I think as I was telling my story to you and sharing my history and background, I got really sad thinking about it. And it didn't even sound like I was speaking about myself. It sounded like I was telling a story of like someone else's life. And I remember having that phone call and just really wanting to make big change. And I think that is what drove my commitment throughout our entire process.
Yeah, because you were committed. You were a rock star during that time. I remember you just like killing it.
Thank you. I did try very hard. I tried very hard.
Yeah. So what do you think was the biggest shift for you?
I'll say two things, if that's okay. So
yes, you can say two.
The first was sitting with discomfort. So I had never done that, never thought of it. When I had the urge to binge, there was no time in between my thought and food being put into my mouth. And learning to be able to notice the discomfort, think about why I'm having it, and sit with it, and knowing that it will pass really changed my mentality. And I still practice that today, and it's so much easier the more you do it. And that was a super helpful tool for me. I think the other one this one was very hard to digest at first, but understanding that binging is a choice and that it's not something that's controlling me. So I remember so many times saying to you or to my husband, really the only two people on earth that knew I was struggling with this, that I just feel like it's like latching onto my brain and it's just making me move my muscles to go to the cabinet or to the refrigerator and to make these choices. And I just have no say in this, and it is up to whatever my brain's telling me. And that is just so far from the truth. I really was able to find out that I was making every decision and choice, and I was choosing to binge, which I know sounds so basic, but big mental shift I had to make.
Yes. Yeah. Because if it's not your choice, if you really are out of control, then there's really not much you can do about it. Right. Once you take responsibility for what you're doing, then you can make that change. Right. That's when the change happens.
I think I used that phrase, like it's controlling me, as almost a safety blanket to, again, separate myself from reality of, well, if it's controlling me, then I have no option. It's just going to happen. But when I took ownership of it and I realized that I was the one choosing to do it and making those actions, I felt more accountable and responsible to myself to change it.
Yes. Yeah. So you and I stopped working together in December. So we're talking now mid-June. It's been about 6 months. So what has it been like doing this work on your own since then?
It's been awesome. I'm smiling as I'm saying this, but I'm really doing great. And it's so hard I can't believe I'm saying it, because I felt at one point like I was just such a lost cause and that this was just going to be something that was part of my history and part of my life, and I'd have to work around it. And as I was building my future and thinking about different jobs and having kids, like this was just something I'd have to factor into that. And it's not the case anymore. And the more and more I put in the work, the easier it got. I know that also sounds cliche, but one of the goals I know that I had set for my program, or my overarching goal, was like, I didn't want binging to be at the front of my mind all the time. There were so many points in my day where I was not focused on anything I was doing because I was thinking about food and when my next binge was going to be. And truthfully, like, the idea of binging is now so far back in my head, it is it's not an option. Like, it doesn't even come up as a solution, quote unquote, to a problem that I'm having. And it's awesome. I think the tools that I've learned, I use. Sometimes some help more than others, and it's been great.
Yeah, I love that. So is your eating perfect now?
No. No. It's not perfect. I don't think that exists.
I don't either. And I wanted to ask you that just to put it out there for everybody else that you can stop binging, love the way you're eating, and still not be perfect, because we're not going to be. That's not the goal, right?
It's not the goal at all.
No. So when you are having those moments of not being perfect, how do you handle that?
It used to be a mental block for me. And now I kind of see it as an opportunity, if that makes sense. I'm really comfortable in knowing or being self-aware of my actions and things I know that maybe I want to work on. And I think I am comfortable with knowing I'm kind of just this work in progress. And even then, it won't get to perfect, but I think everybody has things they want to improve on. Mm-hmm. And just reaching your goals.
Yeah. So one thing that you wanted was to lose weight, right? You wanted to lose weight. And as everybody probably knows, my take on that is that we work on the binging first and the weight loss second. So what was it like for you to put the weight loss on the back burner and just focus on binging?
Oh, it was awful at first. Yeah. When we were working together, it was awful, because the reason why I wanted to lose weight was because I was binging so much, and I thought that I needed to balance that out with restricting or doing whatever to, not have my weight go up. So when that kind of mental shift happened of, okay, we have to focus on the binging first and weight will come second, I did focus on that. It was still hard, but I did do that.
So did you lose the weight?
I don't think I've lost weight. No, but I don't care.
I love that.
Honestly, I just feel so good in my body because I'm making such good choices, and I don't feel horrible all the time, and I feel confident, and it's been such a relief.
Yeah. How did you feel about your body before?
Well, you're going to laugh. I always used to describe it as this word puffy. Like, I'm not this person who you're going to like walk past and say like, wow, she really has an issue. Like, she needs to stop binge eating or whatever. But it was, the behind the scenes weight of the world of, what you were doing, and it was sad and you didn't want to deal with that anymore. So yeah, I was not happy with my body before but I was also not treating it well.
Right. Yeah, I love that. You don't even care anymore about the weight loss because you're so happy with your body. You no longer describe it as puffy, right?
I don't describe it as puffy. I really don't.
How do you describe it?
How do I can't think of a descriptor word, but I'm so proud of myself. I really am. I don't say that about a ton of things. I am just really proud of myself. It wasn't easy, and I put in the work, and I'm just reaping the benefits, and it's awesome.
Yes. So, how do you think that your relationship with yourself has changed?
I am so kind to myself now. We had one session I remember specifically where we had talked about this, idea of not striving to perfection and work in progress, and really just like I had never been that vulnerable with myself. I'd always been so hard on myself when it came to my body and food and how I treated it. And once I started improving the binge eating behaviors, everything else kind of fell into place very naturally. Because, when you're hurting your body in one way, it impacts everything else. So when I was able to help fix and remove the binge eating, my life kind of evened out and balanced.
So, what's life like now compared to what it was like before?
It's in terms of binge eating,
In
or
terms
just
of all of the things.
there aren't constant thoughts about food or eating or what I ate or what I'm about to eat or if I'm going to feel good or bad that day or if something that happens is going to impact how I feel. That used to get me spiraling really quickly. And I feel like, using that word control again, I am just so in the driver's seat of my decisions, my day to day, my happiness. I think the benefit that maybe people don't even know about working with you is that, of course, all of what you teach is applied to binge eating, but so many other areas of your life, because it's all interconnected and they all work together. And there were really strong lessons that you taught me about how to deal with issues I was having with my family and at work, and conquering some of those scenarios that ultimately tied to my binge eating. And it has, again, balanced out how I live. And I just feel more calm and confident.
Did you ever think you would be here?
No, this is like the world's biggest reality shock that I'm talking to you, because I just feel like I was listening to your podcast one day on the train going to work, and now I'm being interviewed as like a success story on your podcast. Like, that is just mind-boggling to me. And I honestly could cry. I'm so proud.
Oh,
I am so thankful for you.
oh my gosh, I'm so proud. God, we're going to sit here and just start crying. So what would you say to somebody else who has been binging for a decade, is doing it several times a week, and has lots of doubts about whether they'll be able to stop too?
I think that everybody is able to stop binge eating. I know that is a fact. If you are struggling with binge eating, you can stop. And I think the most important thing is you have to have that want and desire to stop. So there are a few times in the past decade where I knew I needed to change, but I had no desire to, or I didn't want to, because I was just so comfortable having this struggle, or this release, as I used to call it. And things just got worse, and it never got better, and it compiled, and it got to the point where I knew that I needed to do the change. So for people who are on the fence or have tried a lot of different things or feel hopeless, I think, if you have that desire to want to stop binge eating, you can absolutely do it. I have no doubt.
I don't have any doubt either. And I'm so glad that you said that, because people really need to hear it over and over from as many people as possible, right? Because you didn't think that you could, and now here you are.
I did not think I could.
Yeah. And you have to have that belief to do it. Because if you were just sitting there listening to me on the podcast and thinking, well, that sounds great that Kirsten did it, but not me, I can't do it, you never would have reached out,
No.
ever.
And one exercise that you and I did was just thinking about, what does the perfect future look like without binge eating? What does that day-to-day look like? How are you feeling? What are your emotions, your reactions to things? And I think if you can sit and do that exercise and think about that and you get excited by that, make it happen.
Yes. Yes. Because you have to be more excited about your life without binge eating than you are with your life with binge eating.
It's so much better.
Right? Like you said, you just get so comfortable and you're like, well, I mean, what else is there? So much. There's so much there.
There's so much. It is so freeing. It's wonderful. You have so much more space, mind space, to just celebrate whatever you want to do in life.
Yes. Yes. So anything else, any parting words, any words of wisdom that we haven't talked about that you would like to share?
God, I hope this isn't a shameless plug, but I just really want people to work with you. I really do. It is just, do yourself the world's biggest favor and change your life, and just don't hesitate and do it.
I have to add in here, I did not tell her to say that. She is not getting paid to say that. I'm
not. And I swear, if I were a listener right now, listening to me say this, I would maybe roll my eyes and say, oh, good for her. Like you said, sounds like it worked. Take the step. There's no risk to it. Worst case scenario, you spend weeks talking to Kirsten and having the time of your life. She's so wonderful. So, and best case scenario, which will happen, is you overcome something you've been struggling with for a long time and you make an awesome future for yourself.
And we did have fun, right?
We had a lot of fun. Here's one thing I would add too. For people who say they don't have time, I used to have sessions with Kirsten over the phone in the winter in Chicago, where I would walk around the block because I was too embarrassed to be having these phone conversations in my office. So if I can put on my long parka and walk around the block and talk to Kirsten on the phone in winter, you can find the time, I promise.
Yes, right. When things are really important to you, you make it work. You make it work somehow. You show up for yourself when things are really important.
Yeah. And put first. You'll be doing yourself such a favor. You'll be doing everyone else in your life a favor, because they'll notice. I've been a better wife. I've been a better sister. I've been a better daughter because I don't struggle with this anymore.
Yes. Well, tell your husband that he's welcome.
He'd love to hear that. He would say thank you to you. We talk about you all the time.
Aw. It's like I'm part of the family.
You are.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here, for sharing your story. I think that people out there will really relate to what you've talked about here. And I hope that the people that are listening and questioning themselves hear it and feel inspired by you. I mean, I feel inspired by you. Like, I'm not even in this position and I'm like, oh my God, like I want to be Lainie.
I'm inspired by me and I'm just me.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Well, thank you so much. It's been so awesome talking with you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Isn't she awesome? I love her so much. So now if you are ready to make your story sound a lot like Lainie's and to find the success that she has, then you have to join my group coaching program. To see if the program is a good fit for you and get all the details, information, and get all of your questions about it answered, go to coachker.com/mini and request a free mini session. That free call is where your success begins. Do it. Stop waiting to live your best life. Let's create your best life together. I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Stop Binge Eating podcast. If you like what you heard today and you want more, go to coachkir.com/free. That's COACHKIR.com/free to get some awesome free stuff to help you stop binge eating.